Dice Jailers. I'm Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and this week we are going to talk all about rogues.
Yes,
But
we
before we
are.
get into all the class stuff and all the fun stuff of this episode, shut up, phone. Uh, that's just gonna happen. You're going down there on the fucking floor. Uh,
It's almost like your phone is making a sneak attack.
you know what? How dare you?
I
Also,
very dare.
you're right.
Yeah.
Before we get into things, Bjorn, do you have any announcements as my light falls? New
Oh
setup,
no.
yay!
Let there be light. For me, not a whole heck of a lot right now. This has been a very low key week for me, and I'm okay with that. Um,
Work.
it's we're almost a year into gestures and everything, and so there's just been a lot of trying to take time for myself to just decompress because I'm getting a lot of reminders of stuff that I was supposed to be doing around this time last year
Mm.
and also was supposed to be doing around this time this year. So trying to just make the best of things. And so right now, what most of my spare time has been is designing the interior of a wizard's tower to absolutely horrify my players
Yep,
this coming Sunday.
that's gonna wreck us, and
There's gonna be a
I'm
thing
gonna
that's gonna
break
happen,
it.
and I'm having fun about that. So that's been good. That's been good, and yeah, we're just gonna take her easy and see what else we feel like doing after that. What about you, boss?
I mean, I've moved.
You moved, yeah.
As
Look at that
as you can
background.
see, I'm in a different place than last week. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I moved. I'm still getting everything unpacked. Things are kind of all ramshackle about, but I have significantly more space. Like I can leave. I can
yeah.
just
How do you shackle a ram?
like carefully.
Probably they got them horns.
Just just very carefully.
Like you'd have to kind of sneak up on them, be real stealthy like as you do it.
Boo to you,
No.
EWE.
Yes, yes. And that is
But
our
yeah.
segue into
Speaking of sneaking,
yeah, speaking of sneaking, let's talk about rogues.
yes,
This is one of those kind of just quintessential RPG classes.
it really is like the rogue. Like when you're looking at like really whatever role playing game you're playing, you're gonna have you're gonna have the fighter, you're gonna
Yep.
have a spellcaster, you're gonna have a healer, and you're gonna have someone to pick locks.
Yeah. And rogues come in many different iterations. When we're talking about D&D 5e, the one thing that is going to be a guarantee with all of them is they're going to be Dexy. Like
Yes.
you can't play a rogue if you don't have Dex. I mean, technically you're allowed to, but if you went
Yeah.
by the multi-classing rules, you'd have to have at least a 13. And because almost all of your abilities run off of your Dex,
They really
it's
do.
probably going to be your highest stat.
Like it's just a thing. Like rogues, they're the Dexy boys. Like it's just everything that is roguey about a rogue is
Yeah.
Dex. I mean,
And
they had in past editions, they had like the just kind of like the enforcer, like
sure.
intimidate rogue that you could go off of strength and still do all the rogue things, but that has kind of disappeared.
And honestly, I'm glad it has
Yeah,
because
I don't miss it.
I really like certain classes to be very specialized.
Mm-hmm.
Like whereas the barbarian runs purely off of strength and might and breaking things in half,
Mm-hmm.
rogues are very dexterous and stealthy, and their big defining feature is their sneak attack, which you don't
Yes.
actually have to be sneaky for.
Nope. You just have to have an opening.
Exactly. And honestly, I really like I know there are a lot of complaints about sneak attack in 5e, and mostly
Yes.
people get hung up on the name. But what I like about it is it just shows that the rogue is an opportunist.
Yeah. Well, it's the fifth edition sneak attack should really be called what they call a ranger and a hunter, a thing in Pathfinder
Mhm.
is it's called precision attack.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's the same thing as how 5th edition sneak attack operates, because it's not just your enemy doesn't see you; it's that they're too busy to protect their neck.
And what's great is there are it's actually hard as a rogue to not get sneak attack. If
Yes,
like
which is very nice.
yeah, like you can always be a threat in combat. And the other cool thing about being a rogue is in terms of raw single target damage output, there really is nobody that touches what a rogue can do on that one shot.
Yep.
And I
It's
love
just
them
that
for
one
that.
big. It's one big like, I'm here, you're dead, I'm gone.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so when building a rogue, like I said, number one stat is dexterity.
Absolutely. The
I
second stat really for rogues flips around a lot because
it
like
depends on the player, doesn't it?
yeah, like I personally like to go charisma because I like my rogues to be the face rogue that can also talk themselves out of when stealth doesn't work.
I do too. Like if we're to go from like rogues from pop culture, my favorite roguey character of all time is Han Solo.
Absolutely.
Probably my favorite character of all time. I love Han Solo.
Han Solo is the rogue that has great stats and still can't roll above a 1 for some reason.
Yeah, he rolls bad, but he's got great charisma.
And it just
He's
still kind of works.
yeah, like come on. The fact that we find out in Return of the Jedi that he's now General Solo after he spent heck knows how long in Carbonite, that tells me he got promoted real quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it was on his gift of gab. So, I mean, granted, also, it doesn't hurt that he's played by Harrison Ford, who is just charisma for days. Love Harrison Ford. But yeah.
With rogues, like, also, you can go a wisdom rogue and have all of the perception to add to your being a scout, as well as, even in those social situations, you're getting, insight bonuses.
Exactly. Or
you could
be like an intelligence rogue.
You can. I mean, not as much as in the past.
Right. But there are some worthwhile intelligence skills, and if you're going to play an arcane trickster, because
bread and butter.
Yeah, because your magic runs off of that, you're going to have intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the few classes where, as big as I am on Constitution, if I'm playing a rogue, it's not my second highest stat.
Mm-hmm.
And this might be the only class where I would say that, where I'm going, it's me we're talking about. I'm putting at least a 12 there. I don't do less than 12 in con. I want hit points. I'm gonna dump strength. I don't care about it.
Yep.
I have no interest in it.
Rogues, you really don't need it.
No. And then if for me,
it's funny when your rogue comes up against a door that they've unlocked, but their arms are such noodles that they can't open it.
Exactly. And also, strength saves are fairly rare.
They are. They're less rare with some of the newer spells that have come out in Tasha's.
Yeah.
But they don't happen too often.
But I mean, if you're playing a rogue, yeah, but if you're playing a rogue, what you can't see, you can't force to make a strength save.
Yeah.
And not only do they have that wonderful sneak attack, this is a class that gets so many ways to avoid or reduce damage.
They really do. And the nice thing is that it's built into the class itself, much like with the best things about being a ranger. The best things about being a rogue are also built into the base class and have nothing to do with, the archetypes.
And I really feel like 5th edition did a great job for almost every class. The best things about it, you get them. Like Paladin, you get Divine Smite no matter what. Ranger, you get your favored terrain. You get your enemy no matter what. Yeah. If you're playing a fighter, you get Action Surge.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, Action Surge.
Yeah, if you're playing a barbarian, you get Reckless Attack. Like, these are things you just get. And I think for new players, the rogue, I think, is one of the best classes to give a new player. If you get that person who, they want to be sneaky and they want to they want that ability to also do just a stupid amount of damage. Mm-hmm. I mean, the rogue's where it's at, and they're quite easy to play.
Yeah, and also for DMs, rogues are a great class to make your NPCs with class levels.
Yeah.
Because especially with the archetypes that we'll get into eventually, with rogues for DMs as NPCs, it makes sense for just about every townsperson to have some of the rogue things,
Right.
as well as it makes them like their importance, like if an NPC becomes important or is accidentally in a fight, it makes it makes sense. Like, oh yes, just this random townsperson, knows how to stab a motherfucker. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah, totally.
And I would say possibly more than any other class, I think if you are playing an adventuring party and no one took rogue as their base class, it may be the top class for someone to just multi-class one level in.
Oh, absolutely. Rogue
Because
is like it's up there with cleric in
yeah, I'd
like,
say rogue, cleric,
best,
fighter.
Yeah, like rogues are one of the best classes to just dip a toe in one extra level. Like
yeah, like well, just considering
so
everything you get at level 1, like you get sneak attack, obviously, and granted, it's only 1d6, but if you take that extra rogue level at an early point in your campaign, that's 1d6 every round that you hit. That's going to add up to a lot of damage. And then the other thing is you get expertise in 2 skills by taking 1 level in rogue.
It's huge, and it's a nice homage to the older systems of D&D with rogue, where rogues just had 1.5 million skill points, so they could just kind of do everything.
Yeah,
and now the skill points are long gone.
And I don't miss them.
That there's still, I miss the customization aspect. I
don't
miss how long they made leveling up take.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe with it, is leveling up took so long. And honestly, I always felt there were certain skill points that deserved to be just bundled together.
Absolutely.
You know, there are a few things that I wouldn't mind having back.
Remember when sneak and move silently were 2 different skills?
Completely different things. No one knew why.
That's part of why rogues had so many skill points.
They had to.
All the things of being a rogue were split up into like 1 million things. Like you had use rope and as just a skill in itself.
Yeah, you had
pick locks, like you know, all the like deception, intimidate, because there was also charm just as a skill.
I believe there was both charm and lie.
Persuasion. Yeah. And
so I've been excited for this week. I want to jump into these archetypes.
Okay, before we do, I would like to, because we mentioned a lot of things that we like about the rogue as a base class. We should mention a few, like, hey, these are things that aren't quite great as a rogue.
I will say this. The fact that the thing you have to remind yourself is you can only use your sneak attack on a weapon that is dexterity based or something that has the finesse property. I don't know that I always love that, just because I think for more thrown weapons in particular, I'd like to see that. Like hand axes, for example. That is a strength thrown weapon. I've played Assassin's Creed Valhalla a bit. I can tell you right now, I can sneak up on a dude with a hand axe. So I'm just, I kind of wish it was simply a weapon that doesn't have the heavy property.
Possibly.
I mean, I know you're not going to be.
I wouldn't be mad at Wizards of the Coast if they added like a feat that allowed you to use sneak attack with weapons that don't have the heavy property. But that's also starting to lean back into the world of there are 1.5 million feats, and there's a feat for everything and everything for a feat.
It's true. And I will also say that, you know, for rogues, as great as you are with having, you know, all sorts of ways to avoid damage, and your dex saves will be through the roof. And because of evasion, if you succeed on a dex save, you take no damage. And that's great. Watch
because
out.
it offsets the worst thing about being a rogue, which is that every rogue is Italian because you're fragile.
Yes, you are. You are a D8 hit die.
Yep.
And if you don't have a decent con, which honestly, your con probably didn't start above a 14.
No.
And if it started there, I doubt you're going to increase it much over your campaign.
Yeah, there's like as a rogue, so many like your other things in your dex and whatever mental stat you choose to prioritize.
Yeah.
Those are gonna be more important than your con. They just are, and most likely, if you're playing a rogue, you're going to want to increase two mental stats more than con.
Exactly.
And so like you're just it's not a high priority, and so if you get looked at sideways, you die.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't afford to take a hit, especially at low levels. And so you're relying on that dex for your armor class, and you're going to live in studded leather. That is the pinnacle of your armor. Hopefully you can get some magical studded leather at some point if you have a really nice DM.
Or some mithril chain.
Yep, but that's it. And once you do get hit physically, I mean, say goodbye to your rogue.
Yeah, but that does bring to mind the second most important just base rogue thing with the class besides sneak attack, and that is the cunning actions.
Exactly. Being able to disengage as a bonus action is
that will
huge.
Save the entirety of your ass.
Yeah. While I did say I think rogue is a great class for a new player, it's not a good class for a new player that wants to just run up into the mix and let some blood fly, with a certain exception, which I will get to.
Yep. Which we will get to in the subclasses. Which
yeah, but for the most part, you've got to be careful, because you get hit big once, you're probably going to get dropped, and then you become a liability to your allies. And the rogue should never be a liability. They should be this constant threat on the battlefield.
Absolutely. You just have to make sure you don't get hit, because you are the glass cannon this side of the wizard. But
exactly. Yeah.
Has to get up in people's faces all the time.
Correct.
Like, I mean,
so
you've got a short bow or a long bow if you're an elf.
Yes.
But usually, rapier and dagger, baby.
Yep. Which is why you're playing a rogue and you want to be ranged. The first feat you look at is Sharpshooter.
100%.
Keep yourself as far away as possible.
Although Gunner also is nice, just because it takes the place of crossbow mastery.
Yeah.
It's just better than crossbow mastery.
It is.
It just is.
But yeah, if we're talking about these archetypes.
Yeah, let's get into these archetypes, because
there is one. There's one above all others that I love. It's my favorite. And I know usually I'm the one of us where I'm like, I don't like this archetype because it doesn't feel like this class. It's kind of counterintuitive to all of it. And here's where I'm going to break with all of that, because my favorite rogue is the Swashbuckler.
I knew it. I absolutely knew it. You Errol Flynn motherfucker.
Oh my gods. So here's the best thing about the Swashbuckler, kids. You can be a rogue that doesn't have proficiency in stealth.
And still do fine.
And your build makes sense, because there are other things you might better benefit by having those expertise and proficiencies in. Your charisma modifier is a huge thing that comes into play as the Swashbuckler.
Yep.
And if you thought it was easy to sneak attack as a rogue, if you're like, this is easy, but can I make it so that it's nigh impossible that I won't have sneak attack? Well, let me introduce you to my friend, the Swashbuckler.
So funny.
We're talking at third level, you get two amazing abilities. You get fancy footwork and rakish audacity. And what's great about fancy footwork is if you make a melee attack against a creature during your turn, that creature cannot make opportunity attacks against you for the rest of the turn.
Nope.
Meaning, if you're playing this Swashbuckler, either take the dual wielding feat to twin wield rapiers, or if you're me, don't waste your time with that feat. You don't need it that much. wield twin short swords or twin daggers, or a short sword and a dagger, so that you can always make that offhand attack to get away. It's an amazing ability that will increase your longevity incredibly. But the real reason we're here is rakish audacity.
The
You get two things,
audacity of this rogue.
right? The audacity. It's rakish. You get two abilities. First, your charisma mod. Go ahead and add that to your initiative modifier.
Yep.
Your initiative modifier, that's already good because of your dexterity.
Yep.
Why don't you go and add your charisma to that too?
You are first.
You're going first. You are going first. If you can find a way to get advantage on initiative and you're a swashbuckling rogue at high levels, you're going first. Always. And it's great. And then we were talking about sneak attack. So as a rogue, you get sneak attack if you have advantage on the attack, or if you have an ally within 5 feet. Now, for the swashbuckler, you also get sneak attack if you attack a creature. Yeah, and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you. And you also don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. That's the one important thing. But if you are
as a swashbuckler, you just have sneak attack.
And I love this class so much because, again, I said Han Solo is my favorite rogue. Han Solo is not stealthy at all.
Zero stealth.
But he's unquestionably a rogue. It is the only class that I would really put him in. And it's that running off of charisma. And this is being able to play that rogue that is the face of your party. This is the former pirate captain, or this was a first mate of a pirate ship. Like, you can play a pirate and be a rogue, and it's awesome because pirates are cool. This is great. And I don't know that there is a subclass that I enjoy the rogue more. Every time I roll up a rogue just for funsies, I'll look at all the subclasses and I'll think about what I could run. I come back to the swashbuckler every time. It feels weird to me to not pull a class out of a player's handbook, but this class is, it's so good. And its abilities, as you level up, they stay quite good. At 9th level, you get Panache, where you can make a persuasion check against a creature's insight. And if you succeed, that creature now has disadvantage on its attack rolls against targets other than you, and it can't make opportunity attacks against targets other than you. So this can seem, a poor use of your action. But the nice thing about it is when you use Panache, all it says is the creature must be able to hear you, and the two of you must share a language. And it lasts until you and the target are more than 60 feet apart, meaning you can be a good distance from a creature, taunt it, and now it's got to come get you.
Yep.
And
it's just the, from across the deck of the ship, just your mama.
Exactly. And I love this more than, say, Compelled Duel, where you're clearly, this tank getting up in something's face and keeping it there. This is where you throw an insult, and now it has to basically chase you.
Yeah,
I love this.
It's an ability that you would think a bard would have, one of
the
bards, and they don't.
Yeah, but the rogue gets it. 13th level, you get another use for your bonus action. You get Elegant Maneuver. Just use a bonus action. You get advantage on the next acrobatics or athletics check you make during the same turn. This isn't going to come up a lot. It'll probably come up more in roleplay than it will in combat. But every now and then, you're in a combat or you need to get away, and this is a great way to do it. Or if you're grappled, this is a great way to escape. You now get to do it with advantage, and it's a great use of your bonus action, because if you fail to escape the grapple with your action, your bonus action is basically useless anyways.
Yes.
And lastly, 17th level, Master Duelist. There are a fair amount of these abilities in the game, and I'm always a fan when they come up. This one, if you miss an attack roll, you use Master Duelist, you get to re-roll it with advantage. and you can't use it again until you finish a short rest. What's really fun with that, you could go from a situation where you somehow didn't have sneak attack, and if you miss on the attack, you're re-rolling with advantage. Now you get sneak attack. So,
I mean, but realistically, there's going to be almost no times that you don't have sneak attack. But the one time that you don't, it will feel so satisfying.
And here's the other thing to remember about that ability. It says when you miss an attack, this can be a time when you had disadvantage on an attack for any reason. And you now say, okay, I'm using this. Remember, specific rules always trump general rules in D&D 5e. So because it says you get this attack with advantage, you get it with advantage, no matter what the situation. This could be a great way to hit an invisible enemy.
Oh. I didn't even think about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long if you've done one of those things where you're like, okay, I know it's right around here because I held my action until this wizard cast a spell, and once it did, I'm gonna attack that invisibility with my reaction. And the DM goes, okay, roll with disadvantage, and you miss, you go, all right, now, because I missed, I'm gonna use this, re-roll with advantage, and if I hit, that's sneak attack.
Which is a good way to take down a ghost.
It really is. It really is. And granted, you're 17th level, so you're ridiculously powerful at that point, but you're still a rogue, so you still probably have less than 100 hit points.
And also, the enemies that you're fighting at that point really easily have access to invisibility, so that's big. I didn't think about the invisibility caveat. Like that's a lot.
I love the Swashbuckler so much. There isn't even a close second rogue for me. There is not a close second.
Really?
It's my favorite.
Oh man. See, for me, mechanically, hands down, mechanically, just pure numbers wise, the assassin is the best rogue.
It's hard not to love.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of taking the assassin, putting it aside, also the arcane trickster, and putting it aside because having spellcasting as a rogue just sets you so far above, out of the league of the other rogues that
Mage Hand Ledger Domain, so good.
You're your own rogue, but and so setting those two aside because they're so very just
they're great.
For me, it gets to the mastermind.
Go on.
Because for me, the mastermind is so much fun. Because again, I take into account almost more heavily than anything else the role playing.
Yeah.
That can come from it. And the thing about the mastermind is that this subclass can be so many different kinds of rogues, as opposed to the other subclasses that kind of fit you into this is your kind of rogue because of this subclass.
Sure, you are this.
Yeah, the mastermind can be a noble. The mastermind can still be an urchin. And a character that I actually just made a little bit before this for a game that I'm maybe going to start playing with some people. I made a mastermind that I'm modeling combined with another player in the campaign.
Sure.
I am modeling, I'm making my character that's a mastermind rogue. That's going to be a mastermind rogue because we're starting level 1, but whatever. This rogue is that partner character who's a noble. I'm that character's butler.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so butler / bodyguard / just right hand man.
Nice.
And that's the cool thing for me is with the mastermind is you can really make whatever kind of rogue. You get, and also because of the rogues of old, I love just having proficiency in so many skills.
You get a lot.
Because you get so many skill proficiencies, you get another 2 languages.
Yep.
And you also get the master of tactics. And that is hands down on all of the different rogue archetype abilities, hands down it is my personal favorite. Because there are some times where you might end up not using your bonus action for one thing or another, or you have to move action, regular action, and you can choose whether you're gonna regular action dash or bonus action dash.
Right.
but you could also regular action move and bonus action help to give someone else advantage. And you get that at level 3, which is
Yeah.
so big.
When I ran Curse of Strahd and you played in it, I remember your
Mastermind
rogue
yeah.
was a mastermind, and you utilized that bonus action help quite often.
Oh yeah, because there were so many times that like my bonus action to disengage wasn't really necessary. My bonus action, my cunning action to hide wasn't really necessary, or to dash for that matter.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what do I do with my bonus? Oh, advantage for you.
Yep.
And it's also not and it's not advantage for a particular ally. It's advantage to hit that enemy.
Exactly. You're like, I'm helping, hit that thing, which
and like the with the Swashbuckler, the taunt that the Swashbuckler has.
Yep.
The help has a 30-foot range.
Exactly.
So you're in battle. Hey, look, his armor's missing on the left side. Still in battle. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, you can do a lot to help. The mastermind, I was on the fence about it until I watched how you played it, and it's in combat, it is the most team player of all the rogues.
It's and that's one thing that I really like about the mastermind is that it's a team player rogue, because so often you get that person that's playing a rogue and then goes on their own, and as often in this show that we've harped on how you have to make a character that at least kind of goes along with the team.
Yeah,
rogues are really notorious for not doing that. The mastermind, though, nah, you need your people.
Yeah, like as much as I love the assassin, like we said, it's this raw damage output. The fact that you have a reliable way to crit on sneak attacks, which you will have to roll so many dice at high levels that you are borrowing from the other players, and you make the DM jealous. Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, but those dice are so little. Those little mini guys, you'll never find them, so it's not worth doing it. But I think the only problem with the assassin, I feel like I think it makes people feel this need to play this friggin' edgelord, and I think I think I might be because it's called an assassin.
I mean, and there's so many more fun ways to play an assassin than just an edgelord.
Right?
Like,
right? How delightful would it be if your assassin like had the personality of Bob Ross or LeVar Burton? I'm thinking specifically from like Reading Rainbow. Like just this, or Mr. Rogers. Not that Mr. Rogers could have been an assassin. I don't know. But
I mean, we don't know what he did in the military.
Yeah, why not? You could have this really delightful person where the whole thing about being an assassin is it's just their job. It's just their job.
We've seen so many shows, comics, and anime that are built specifically on that premise.
Yeah.
That, like, the fact that people don't play it that often blows my mind.
And the thing is, like, you're super gritty assassin who has this tortured life, who's an orphan. I'm not saying that the trope doesn't work. I'm just saying I've seen it. All the players have seen it. And there's a good chance someone did it better.
Yeah.
And unless that really speaks to you, you're like, no, this is the character I've come up with, and here's why, and I have this cool backstory. It's like, great, a lot of that probably won't come up in the campaign, but go with the character that speaks to you, and they just happen to be an assassin.
Yeah. Like, there's so many other things you can do, and I mean, most of the things that you would do as an assassin fit into, the mastermind archetype, the soul knife archetype.
Yeah.
There's also the soul knife archetype. You get psionic stuff, like, yo.
Right. I honestly think with the assassin, the big thing, like people get caught up in all that grimdark stuff. I think if you're gonna play an assassin, I know we're not getting into our dislikes yet. I just want to have my little caveat on it. The most interesting ability the assassin gets to me is their 9th level infiltration expertise. Mm-hmm. They can create false identities for themselves.
Yeah.
This tells me that an assassin is going to have a certain amount of charisma to them. They can create these false identities.
The problem with that ability for me is that take the charlatan background.
Sure. I'm just going to say this, though. You could be a rogue that doesn't have to take the charlatan background.
Yeah.
You could be a really well, thoroughly trained spy. I would tell anybody to go back and watch the old USA show Burn Notice.
Yep.
Michael Weston, all the different aliases he uses, or Bruce Campbell's character Sam Axe always using the alias Chuck Finley because Chuck Finley is forever. But think about just how charismatic that character of Michael Weston is. Like, he's a very charismatic character, and we get to see the range of that actor and all these different personas he gets to put on. But I think that's a really a much better place to look if someone wants to play this assassin rogue, as opposed to looking at any sort of grimdark kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Because Michael Weston, what an interesting character.
Yeah. And like the things that make the assassin really, really cool, like besides just the raw numbers, they come up in many of the other archetypes.
Yeah.
But it's just the raw numbers that I'm like, here, assassin, you go play over here. But
Yeah.
also you play by yourself, so I don't really want to play with you.
They do play by themselves a lot.
Because and that's like the juxtaposition of those is why I like the mastermind so much more, is because you're going to be a team worker, and like also you get up, like you get at level 9, you get the insightful manipulator.
Yeah.
Which before Mercer brought out the Monk of the Cobalt Soul, you didn't have an ability like this in all of 5th edition.
No, you didn't. You could learn.
Yeah.
Like the closest you got was the Battle Master, who could spend some time observing someone and learn things about them. But you actually had to spend time. It wasn't something you could do in combat.
Yeah. The insightful manipulator, you can, and it, like, you do have to spend a little bit of time out of combat. It's still a minute.
Right.
But the Battle Master has to spend, I think it's like 10 minutes.
I think it's an hour.
Or an hour. Like, ridiculous amount of time scouting. You have to spend a minute observing or interacting with them outside of combat. And with a little bit of charisma, that's easily talking your way through, like, a royal ball.
Yes.
And talking to your assassination target to then later stab them in the throat after you know how many, if they have any class levels, what their intelligence, wisdom, or charisma scores are, which can be huge information to give to, like, your bard or your wizard.
Right?
Like,
hey, don't cast this against them. They'll resist the shit out of it.
Yeah, like, charm spells, don't even try. Charisma out the ass. But he's dumb as a pile of bricks.
Now, obviously, we have our classes that we like, and I'm tracking with you on Mastermind. It's a great class, and I feel like both of us put kind of the assassin as our, like, 1B choice, because it's hard not to enjoy. There is one rogue archetype that I can't get behind, and I don't like it.
I'm pretty sure it might be the same one, but you do yours first.
Is yours the scout?
No, it is not.
Okay, because I don't like the scout.
The reason, but the scout is also on the low end for me as well, because I play a ranger.
The scout, I don't think any of its abilities are that good, and frankly, I think that there's another class that does a lot of what it is trying to do better. Skirmisher is okay, when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you, you can move up to half your speed as a reaction, and it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. That's great, but it said this is when the enemy ended its turn next to me, meaning it probably already melee attacked me, meaning I'm a rogue, I'm probably already unconscious.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to get to use this. And frankly, if I survived the hit, half my movement doesn't get me very far. I'm just going to bonus action disengage so that I can't be attacked by whatever the hell else I can do.
Like, half your movement is not going to get you far enough away
that
they can't catch up with you.
Exactly. Like, I'll wait till it's my turn, I'll bonus action disengage, and I'll get out of there. The other 3rd level ability, Survivalist. Oh, you gain proficiency in nature and survival.
Be a ranger.
Why am I not just playing a ranger or like an outlander barbarian?
Yeah.
I don't understand this. 9th level, your walking speed increases by 10 feet. I don't care. if I want to play a class where my movement increases, I'll play a monk or a barbarian. Like,
Or just be an elf. 'Cause,
yeah,
like
where you
one of
just
the elf,
naturally get that.
yeah, one of the elf traits, you move fast a little bit.
Yeah, like, 13th level, you get advantage on initiative rolls, and the the first creature you hit during the first round of combat becomes easier to hit for you and others to strike.
Yeah,
Where,
and you get advantage, and like,
yeah, until the start of your next turn, everything against that creature has advantage. And this is great for like legendary creatures, single boss
yeah,
tent poles. But
but also it's 13th level at this point.
yeah, the only thing that you get as the scout that I think is that worthwhile is the 17th level ability, where if you take the attack action, you can then make an additional attack as a bonus action, and that attack can benefit from a sneak attack even if you've already used it that turn, but it can't be on the same target. Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is really cool. I can technically sneak attack twice in the same turn.
This was cool
except
until the end of the sentence.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, but it can't be against the same target. And it's like, you know what? There is another rogue that does what you're trying to do here so much better, and it's the player's handbook. It's the thief, who at 17th level, whatever you rolled for initiative, subtract 10 during the first round, you get a second turn.
Yep. And the thief, like, saying that that thing about the thief is better.
Yeah.
Is such a low bar. Because the thief is the one I don't like.
No way! I love the thief. Go on. I want to hear this.
Oh man, yeah, the thief for me, like, the reason that I dislike the thieves more than any of the other subclasses is because all of the thief's abilities lend to, hey, I'm gonna go off and do this thing, and I'll be back. And I don't like it's the same reason why I can't pretend that the assassin is that good, even though it's like numbers wise it's so good.
Don't split the party.
I don't want a subclass where one of your most fragile people, like, their main thing is, all right, I'm gonna go here, I'll let you know if something goes wrong.
Don't split the party.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes split the party, but like, take a tank with you.
Yeah. Just say, like, yeah, it's dangerous to go alone. Take the barbarian.
Yeah, and like, the thief cannot take a barbarian with them. You can't.
No.
You'll get caught.
Exactly. Yeah, I want to hear more about you not liking it. And I love the thief, but it may be that I'm too caught up on two of their abilities.
See, for me, it's really just the fact that it breeds the going off on your own, as well as the bonus abilities are almost entirely to skill checks,
sure,
ability checks. And while I think that bonuses to skill checks are great, if your subclass is not giving you any kind of combat utility, that is for a very specific campaign.
And that's very fair, because outside of having a DM that's really good at making sure there are skill challenges within your gameplay or within combat itself, where maybe the environment is now changing and you have to jump.
Weaving those kind of things in, it's hard.
It is. Like, as a DM, I can say, I always think to myself, oh, how can I incorporate more skill checks into this? It's not easy to do.
No, like your best like skill challenge things are going to be like a chase scene.
Exactly. I would love it if WotC would create an official guide to skill challenges supplemental for the Dungeon Master's Guide.
They did a video. Video blog on D&D Beyond a little bit ago.
It was a great video. It was a great video. It told a lot. And I've played with DMs. I played with DMs who are pretty good at the whole skill check thing, and it can be fun and it can be engaging. And I won't lie, the rogues really get to shine because they have so many skill proficiencies, and they should shine in those moments. But like you said, outside of those specific DMs who are going to be doing that, for the most part, having a subclass where their abilities lend itself to your skill checks, and those are your big bonuses, you don't get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and that's really my dig on the thief is that you're gonna go off on your own, and you're gonna have this whole like skill challenge thing on your own that your DM's probably not ready to do, so it's
Sure.
not gonna be great.
So not even if you can't attune to this magical item, you can attune to it, saves it for
Okay,
you.
now that is fun though.
Because I was gonna say,
That is the shining glimmer of the
yeah,
thief for me.
it's like it's easy to love for the thief the fact that you can take that second turn at 17th level, that whole thief's reflexes. I mean, that's great. But again, if the whole thing about a subclass is, oh, it's good at 17th level, I mean, how many of us have ever played a character that's gotten to 17th level? It's very rare.
Yeah, I mean, in 5th edition, I played like 3 of them maybe, and one of them was in a level 21 shot. So like,
Exactly. Like it doesn't happen often. And even then, the one I'm talking about, the use any magic item, it's so cool. But the thing you have to remember, you get it at level 13. And the sweet spot for 5th edition really is levels 5 through 10.
Yeah,
Like,
that is where like a lot of the fun stuff starts to come out. A lot of the balance for having like a full equip of magic items really comes
yep.
through. And so by the time you're 13, you probably have all of your slots filled.
Or even then, look at how many of the printed adventures end between levels 10 and 12.
Yep, a good amount of them end at 12.
And honestly, I as a player, I don't find that a detraction at all. I do wish there was more high level adventures. Like,
they are harder to write.
They're harder to write and they're harder to run. It's really hard to balance combat for a high level party because high level adventurers are capable of so much damage in one round. And
as well as just the spellcasters can do so many things out of combat with their spells.
Yeah,
that it's so hard to write a high level campaign that takes into account the fact that your druid's got teleport via plants or whatever, or your wizard just has teleportation circle.
Or if you get up high enough in levels, your wizard can just make a wish.
Yeah.
Campaign over. I mean,
like, kind of a dick move.
Or even if the wizard isn't using the full, like the actual I'm going to make a wish capability, the fact that it can replicate any 8th level spell as an action, that's massively powerful every adventuring day. And having to account for that as a DM is hard. And writing an adventure that deals with that, really difficult. And let's face it, at 5th level, every class is locked, loaded, ready to go.
Yep. At 5th level, you really start to get you feel like your class.
Yeah, you feel like a badass at that point.
I would say the rogue and the ranger do get to feel more like, and the fighter, I'd also say, get to really feel like their class at like levels 2 and 3.
Oh, that's true. I would almost argue the fighter feels like its class at level 1.
That's very true.
I mean, second win.
Especially if you play a variant human and get that first level feat, your fighter is going to feel like a complete fighter at level 1.
Yeah, and yes, I will say, this is jumping way back before we talked about subclasses. You were asking what knock would I put on the rogue, and there is a secondary one that I would put. Most classes, and granted, this is ignoring the variant rules in Tasha's, which I love, by the way. I love the notion that you can move the ability scores around, and it's like, why is your Goliath super smart and super dexterous? And you're like, because he's weird, man. It happens. Like, anybody who asks about that, I'd be like, you ever heard of this guy named Jeremy Lin? Like, I use Jeremy Lin as the example. I mean, when you talk about 100%. You're talking about a country with a population of 1 billion, you're going to get a Jeremy Lin.
Yep.
But let's face it, when you look at genetics for people from China, you don't get a whole lot of people who look like Jeremy Lin.
No, you don't.
You just don't. And so They most probably do. And I think it's important to adhere to the archetypes of the races in D&D to a certain extent. But it's important to also remember you could have a Jeremy Lin situation.
Yeah.
So I'm all about the ability scores moving around. But if we're staying within the archetypes, I feel like this is one of the main classes that really it's like these are the races you want to play for the rogue.
You want
Like,
you want an elf, you want a tabaxi,
yeah,
you want a halfling.
yeah, you want that +2 to Dex. And if you honestly, if you're playing a rogue and you're not getting a +2 to Dex, you're probably playing a variant human because you've got a +1 there and a +1 to whatever you want, and you get a free feat.
Or you've got some weird story thing, which is why my rogue butler is a tiefling.
Yeah, well, actually, that was the next one I was going to mention. There are some tieflings that get a bonus to charisma and Dex.
Yep. Which I'm one of those.
Yeah, but for the most part, like there are a lot of races that I don't think work well for the rogue.
You know who doesn't have the stat works well, but has one particular racial ability that works too well?
What's that?
Aarakocra.
You're not wrong. Well, Aarakocra is Dex Wisdom.
Is it Dex Wisdom? I thought.
Yeah.
Why did I think it was Con? I don't ever play Aarakocra.
Aarakocra make great rogues. Dex Wisdom, fly around.
I thought their big one was Con.
They're.
Yep. Revising how I feel about Aarakocra.
Yeah. If you want to surprise your DM, because while it does get a bonus to strength, it also gets a bonus to Dex. One to throw in there is play a bugbear rogue. Have that additional reach. Yeah. Have that 10-foot reach, and all of a sudden you can be hidden somewhere and still make melee attacks. It's great.
Sneak attack with an arm from a bush.
Exactly.
A random bugbear arm.
Exactly.
Ambush.
Yeah. But honestly, I think you are limited a little bit. And I think, depending on what you may want from a rogue, when you get people that want to be like super, I want to be combat and, just like gooching people up, and they want to be like Ninja Turtles, because I think Ninja Rogue Assassin, I'm like, it's a martial artist, my dude. You want to play a monk, you'll have more fun.
I do miss from past editions, the ninja being its own class.
Yeah,
it was weird. I thought it wasn't done well, but I liked it was there.
I will say, when we talk about past editions and whatnot, I think one of the only things I really miss is the prestige classes. And I feel like prestige classes have largely been replaced by the subclasses, archetypes, which I mostly like. And 5th edition, it's at its peak right now. It's amazing. It's everywhere. We're going to get more subclasses. So we'll get to the point where I feel like we have all the prestige classes.
Yeah.
I feel like
we'll never get to the point of ridiculous prestige classes where like some of them were so goddamn specific.
Right.
Which that was one of the things that I loved and hated about 3.5, and it especially came out in the Rogue because most of the prestige classes were locked behind a skill point wall.
Yes, they were.
So the Rogue in past editions could prestige class into just about anybody.
Just about. And so, yeah, I think the main thing to remember when you're playing a rogue is it's a thing about what kind of character is interesting and fun for you as the player to play. Like, okay, your dexterity is going to be great, but I think it's important to look at your intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. I say con because it's me. I get it's always in front of my mind. I think to look at those last 3 stats, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and go, you know what? Which of these do I want this character to bring out the most? And it may be worth, if you know the other players you're going to play with in this adventure, if you're all rolling up characters together, it may be worth talking to them and figure out, hey, what are you going to play? Because you can really tool your rogue to make sure you're filling those gaps that the party doesn't fill. And it's not just that you fill them, like you're full on Flex Seal, man. Like you have filled that gap, stopped that gap, you have it covered.
Yep. You are an NFL middle linebacker doing their job.
Exactly. Like that is it. Oh, the line didn't get it, you've got it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things about playing a rogue that definitely breaks my usual approach to joining a game. Because often, when joining a game, I will do my best to not talk to the other players unless I'm specifically like, our characters know each other before this campaign starts.
Yeah.
I do my best to like not talk to the other players about what's going on, so that I don't let my choices be influenced by everyone else, so that things are interesting and I'm playing the character that I want to play rather than just what fits.
Absolutely.
But with a rogue, and this may just be me as a person, but with a rogue, any rogue that is going to fit whatever the party needs is a rogue I kind of want to try.
Exactly. And you can make your rogue fit basically any adventuring party. Mm-hmm. So it's important to make sure that you're staying true to yourself, but also like check in with the players to a certain extent and be like, hey, what do we need?
And it's really nice, especially playing from like starting at level 1.
Yeah.
Because by the time that you've like hit level 3 and you're picking your archetype, you can kind of tailor that choice. And
exactly.
It's not even inorganic, like, oh yeah, let's just optimize our party real quick. Like, no, we've been adventuring together for 2 levels. This is the niche that I can fill.
Yeah. We know some things. And granted, you know what? Maybe you are playing in a party that also has either a bard or a warlock or a sorcerer that is that charisma-based caster, that is going to have a high charisma score, and you want to play a swashbuckler. Don't feel like you have to change what you're going to do, even though your secondary stat's charisma. Your secondary stat is a charisma. As a swashbuckler, yeah, you shouldn't be more charismatic than the bard or the sorcerer or the warlock. Like, here's the thing. Remember, I talked about Han Solo earlier. In The Empire Strikes Back, we knew Han was this rogue and he was super cool and he was charismatic. And then we got and then we got to Cloud City and we met Lando Calrissian and we met a guy who was even more smooth because it was Billy D. Williams.
Yeah. Lando Calrissian, the bard that dipped a level in rogue.
Yeah, like Lando's not a rogue primarily. That's not his primary stat. So that's the thing, is don't feel like you have to stray away from that stat just because, someone else has this. I believe as a player, it is always good to check in with your fellow adventurers just to make sure you're not stepping on their toes. If it's very clear that the bard in your party is going to take all the face skills and handle all the negotiations, and you want to have a little bit of that action, maybe ask them, hey, how about you take everything but intimidation? And then we can good cop, bad cop stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also a really good thing for a party that rogues can do.
Yeah.
Is really fill that, like, you're really good at that, but you need a backup though? Because I can just like sneak up and be there whenever you need it.
Exactly. And also, I think what's wonderful about persuasion as a skill in general, I think multiple party members can have proficiency in it because you have to think about the individual that you're trying to persuade. Because a DM might give a certain party member advantage for persuasion and a different party member disadvantage based on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm. Like
think about it.
Maybe you're talking to a gnome, and like, I don't know why, but maybe your Goliath is usually the face.
Yeah.
They're gonna terrify that little thing.
Or
the halfling.
It could be as simple as you are in this, Thieves Guild safe house, and you've got your contact there, and your primary face in your party is the paladin. And this knight in shining armor walks up to the bartender at the Thieves Guild. They're not going to say a damn thing.
No, That's a record scratch moment, my dude.
Exactly. But if your Swashbuckler walks up to them and uses Thieves' Cant, so you open a lot of great role-playing opportunities. If you're going to play a rogue, just think about what you find interesting and how it's going to enhance your adventuring party, because you're going to have fun. Just don't run off by yourself all the time or be super overly grimdark and gritty. Like, we don't need that.
By yourself, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and no one's going to be sad. Yeah, no one's going to be sad that you died.
You're going to deserve it. if you play that gritty, grumpy assassin that runs off on their own to try and do the job all on their own, and you die, you deserved it.
Yes, you did. And the cleric will not resurrect you.
Absolutely not.
And if they do, I'll tear up their character sheet.
No, if that cleric does, that person is hitting on you in real life.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're straight up. They're hitting on you in real life. And if you're like, oh, I'm not their type, motherfucker, you're their type.
Yep.
That is. And if you're like, but they're not into guys, like, they just learned something about themselves.
They're not into guys. They're into you, guy.
Precisely.
Oh God, I'm really glad we got on that tangent to
Me too.
Close us out, because that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. That's a good close. That's a closing moment right there.
All right. Thank you everybody for watching.
Thank you guys.
Please continue to watch. Thank you for all the support.
I said I was going to mention it last week during our Rangers episode, and I forgot the name of their website, and now it's the Rogue episode. RR. Wow, it's perfect. It's backtothedoublr.com. If you type it all out, it looks like back to the doubler. Don't put the letter R twice. Spell out back, BACK, to TO, the THE, double, DOUBLER.com. They realized this problem afterwards. Some great friends of mine have put together this wonderful podcast based around Twin Peaks show set here in Washington State. They love it. They rewatch it every year, some of them, and it just launched last week. They did their second episode this week. Really good friends of ours, one of which actually played in my Curse of Strahd game along with Jordan, my buddy Damon DeChico. I've known him a long time. Also, my friends John and Colin are in on that. It's a great podcast. Even someone not familiar with Twin Peaks, I listen, and what they're saying is like really cool and interesting, and they're making me want to watch it. And everyone I've talked to who has watched Twin Peaks, that has listened to their podcast, has just loved it. They're clearly fans. So if you like Twin Peaks or have ever thought of watching it, backtothedoublr.com. Check it out, please.
I'm glad you remembered that, because I totally would have forgotten to remind you, and I even told myself hey, remind him about that thing.
Woo!
I fucking remember. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for
thank you guys
staying in with us. We're still working out the logistics of trying to get a one shot a month up, but we'll figure that out soon. I'm gonna try to get one at the end of March, because I've got
that's the goal.
The PDF for one, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. And I've got a couple people interested that I told them that I would follow up with them, and then I didn't because I'm busy.
That's good. I'll harass you this weekend, baby.
Like you do.
Yep.
But yeah, please keep up with us on Facebook, on the Instagram that we definitely will be putting up more images.
I'll start putting stuff up on our Twitter too, because I check in on it and I never say anything.
Wait, we have a Twitter?
Yeah.
Dope. Also, remember that our episodes go live the Saturday at noon Pacific time after the live show on Thursday on Twitch. But also, you're gonna want to watch it live.
Yeah, and if there's anything you want to hear us talk about, we've only got 4 more classes to go through, and we're gonna need new topics.
Do we only have 4?
Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Artificer,
Blood Hunter.
Oh, yeah. We are gonna talk Blood Hunter.
Don't forget
Never mind.
Blood Hunter, baby.
We have 5 more to go through, but still, tell us what you want us to talk about, because we want to entertain you guys.
But yeah, keep up with us and all our stuff, and thank you for being around for stuff. Bjorn, what do we always say? So I stop rambling away and talking like this and then my weird voice for no reason.
Do something nice for yourself this weekend.